Mic's on. It is. That's right here. Whew. Oh, crap. Hold on. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Greatest League Talkshow pre-show with your one and only host. Never have I ever had another host, Scarra, here to give you the best in quality production in League of Legends. So for people who don't know, usually I have a trusty handy-dandy production expert, Josh, here with me. Unfortunately, he actually told us that he wouldn't be here, but he did like in such an offhand comment where I didn't catch it. And so I didn't know I would be stuck by myself today until about an hour and a half before the show started, or else I would have got someone in to fill in the pre-show with me today. Anyways, yeah, so I think he's busy with Anime Expo or something like that. And I'm actually, the only reason I haven't gone is because I'm doing the show, or else I would have actually gone today as well, even though I heard it was pretty bad, to be honest, like 4 hour plus lines at the moment. But anyways, for people who don't know, the pre-show for this show is pretty much just me waiting for Mark. So Mark is currently an analyst on the NALCS desk. I was an analyst with him last split. This split he's kind of doing it solo with other riders. And for him to make it from there to here takes, give or take, 30 minutes. And for those 30 minutes, I just talk to you guys about stuff that may or may not be related to League. It's usually not related to League. With Josh here, we usually talk about our interests, which are his interests being Smash and anime, get brought up a lot, and Magic the Gathering. My interests, which are League of Legends, and I guess reading, don't ever really get brought up. So I guess we just bring up his interests. So now that he's not here, I'm not an interesting kind of guy. So instead of talking about me, I'd rather just talk about you guys. If you guys have anything you want me to talk about, feel free to throw it out there. I got a lot of time to burn. Oh, I know the mark timer is wrong, but for today, we'll just leave it incorrectly. It's not a big deal. I don't actually know how to reset it. So with that in mind, the mark timer will just run indefinitely. Talk about tier list? Oh god, okay, let's talk about tier list. I saw Freak had an 80 carry tier list that people make fun of all the time. All the pros are just like, hey guys, B tier mid laner here, or B tier 80 carry here, B tier support player after they win the series. Or I'm so happy I was able to show them why I'm B tier. Stuff like that. It's actually super funny. I actually think even with people are getting really mad about Freak about these lists, I think they're actually really smart because it just gets more people interested, you know? People are so invested that they're going to be like, what? My favorite 80 carry Stixay is not A tier? And then they just get an aneurysm right there and then furiously post a tweet at Freak. And I think that, I don't know, I just think that's pretty funny. I think that's really smart of Riot to do. You know, Freak has gotten a lot of hate in his years, so he knows how to handle it. And that's why it's Freak's 80 carry tier list. I think he does the support tier list as well. I'm not sure. But I don't know. I just think it's really funny. Can I talk about mid champions? There's nothing to talk about. I think let's just talk about general champions right now. There's a wide variety of champion picks. Usually there's like 3 picks in every position that tend to oppress every other pick. I think at the moment you can pick a lot in every position. Probably jungle being the most narrow, but still having like quite a few options. I think the meta right now is really, really good for competitive play, minus some champions are still a little bit overboard, like Galio before the nerfs is a good example of a champion that's just nuts and should be nerfed instantly. But yeah, for the most part, every role has like up to 5 picks that are blindable, and then a bunch of counter picks that are good in like a lot of positions. How doomed is NA for Rift Rivals? Oh yeah, a lot of the teams are. I think I just read the tweets that they're right now leaving to the airport for Rift Rivals. I actually expect good things from them for Rift Rivals. Honestly, I think that the format itself, especially the first round, the second round may be like kind of difficult, but the first round is just round robin best of ones. And so with round robin best of ones, like there's gonna be upsets. I predict even the worst team going P1 to at least have two wins out of 6, which you don't want to be the team losing the P1 right now. That's all I gotta say. I think it'll be maximum entertainment value for the viewers. So for me, I'll personally like it, and I don't know if we'll cover it so much on Greatest League Talkshow. Maybe we might just cover the finals, because the round robin may not be feasible. What's the current jungle meta? It's literally just Rek'Sai, Zac are like gods, and then underneath them you'll see Elise, Gragas get picked a ton, and then you'll play Lee Sin, and then there's like Kha'Zix, Nunu. That's like 8 champions right there, and then there's split offs from those champions. Current pick for MVP so far? I'd probably give it to Jensen. Even though his team isn't doing too well, I think without him, his team would be like really in dire straits. He's having what I would consider to be an MVP season at the moment. And he's just playing like a monster. Really, really just unreal gameplay at the moment. Thoughts on ᵐᵉ trash talking? Didn't even hear it. I'm planning to talk about Team Liquid today. Honestly, I think Mark is the one most opposed to talking about Team Liquid, and I think that's just because since he comes from the org, he tends to have higher expectations of the org, and so when they fail, he just does not want to talk about it at all. I do kind of want to cover the games a little bit, but honestly, I can't really say the quality of games are too high. I watched the games, and I was literally just like, oh my god. Froggen, like, I just see like Froggen 1v9ing the games and being like, okay, well, what do I talk about? Okay, wow, he valked over the golem or the golem camp, 2-hit rain over, then triple crit their AD carry, and then they got Baron and they won. The game wasn't like an 8-kill game from 30 minutes. Like, I don't know. I really it's hard for me to say much about those games. What I think about Raid versus Impact? I think this week is one of the first weeks that Impact played decently well in lane, like pretty well in lane. I don't know about the difference between the two. I just think that Impact frontline's better and position's better in team fights. Do you think CLG experiments too much in game 2s and that's why they constantly lose them? No. I just think CLG is not like the mark of a great team is consistency, and so I think that the biggest problem is that like a lot of their games go to 3 games not because they experiment, but because they just play poorly. Like something that they didn't get that they thought was right about their draft, they found out was wrong, and so it might be really good for them on a learning perspective. But it like honestly, as a fan, I'd like to see clean 2-0s going into playoffs. At the moment, I don't really care too much about 2-0s because it is helpful for learning to be able to like get your expectations turned over. But yeah, definitely going to playoffs. You want the teams that you cheer for to be converting like very, very clean series as opposed to like game 2 CLG, straight Fiesta, and somehow CLG scrap out the 3rd game. Plans for Greatest League Talkshow and Worlds, we'll get to that as it comes up. I don't know. There's a good chance that Mark or me may be on the or have plans for Worlds, and with that in mind, it's like it's really hard to run this show for the entire 7 weeks that Worlds is. In fact, I don't even think I'd try it. It'd be insane. So we'll have to talk about the format and figure it out and tell you guys if we're even considering doing it. Do you think Echo Fox's scrim change is making an impact? I definitely think it's making an impact. But there's a problem. Like for me, I don't think a team should ever exclusively scrim their B team for the entire season. I think the idea that you have a B team to scrim with so that you can train certain things is really, really valuable. And you should use it for drills or like certain preps or even boot camps. But if you're doing it for the entire season, like the best way to learn is to experience a lot of different things. And so for me, it's like having a B team. The experience of having a B team would be they experience a bunch of different things, and then you experience a bunch of different things by playing a bunch of different teams, and you come together and share your experiences together to grow. At the moment, they're kind of growing together because they form their own mini meta by playing each other. I think that it's possible to do that, but it's not the most ideal way of practice that I would like. Apparently, the Dota 2 prize pool is up to 20 million. Thoughts on the possible impact on esports? What kind of question is this, dude? I don't know. The Dota 2 prize pool has always been really big. Just because, yeah, they get... Like, the problem with this is that sometimes I think that a lot of people think that the value of the prize pool overshadows everything else. And while there have been, like, really, really good production things that they do, I think a lot of times they run into more production problems than League of Legends in many of their events, which is why I safely say that League of Legends production is very, very, very good. I mean, would I love to be throwing $20 million tournaments? Sure, but I also think that like people using it as like a highlight and saying that like Dota 2 is like can do no wrong or is the biggest esport is really kind of weird. I don't mind having other esports. I don't think it's a problem, but is the number all that matters? Is the size matter? Is that it to you guys? That's all I gotta ask. You said that I was afraid of Gnar buffs. Do you think he's first pickable now? I think he's really, really strong. I don't know about blindable, but he's very, 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 very strong. Talk to me about Bjergsen. Are you serious? I gotta talk to you about what should be who should be MVP candidate almost every split that he plays. He's a monster player, man. Look at the games he played today. Look at the first game he played today, and just be like, oh my god. The amount of pressure he creates by himself is just like, oh, he's 1v5ing the enemy team by walking up. He's really, really good. And pretty much if you ask any player in the league, but what player would you want to build a team around, whether it be coach, analyst, or player, almost all of them would answer Bjerg. He's just that good. Because he's that consistently good, I don't talk about him much. That's the that's the fault of being too consistently powerful. I mean, I think Jensen's playing a better season than Bjerg this split. But I think Bjerg's generally considered to be a better player. Or more impactful player, so to speak. Yeah, I don't think we'll be covering Rift Rivals at all. But it's something that me and Mark have to talk about. Like, I think generally, like, I'm running into a lot of... I guess the thing I should say is that I contracted Josh and Mark to help me out with a lot of content surrounding the house. Currently, the house has like about 9 people working in it, living/working in it, and because I contracted them, like there's going to be a lot of work. There's a lot of work recently that we all have to do, and hopefully we'll have the content to show for it pretty soon. What happened to Beyond the Rift? It'll be coming back after NACS games are done, so I think in 3 weeks, give or take. What I think makes an esport good, honestly, if it's something that people want to watch, I think that's the most important thing. Watchability. Uh, if you really if you really like to watch it, you can create an esport from it. In essence, of course, you need a lot of like developer support, maybe like a lot of like financial support from either the devs or grassroots. But the most important thing is watchability. Mm. Do I think EC9 is in a slump right now, or is it their new identity? I think C9 is. I think they're fine. They're not. Honestly, rather than looking at the players who are underperforming compared to last split, so I think like for instance, Smoothie has had like pretty like a couple bad games here and there. Like surprisingly, from what I consider to be the best support last season, he's kind of messed up in a couple games here and there. I think the top lane has been consistently bad, aside from the last series that they played. And the good things about them are that like I think Jensen's having like a ridiculous split, and Contracts is having an insane he's actually playing super well. He's improved a lot from last split, and so as well as the fact that they're like overall map play, especially early, is better. It's definitely getting better, which is a huge weakness of them last split. I think going into playoffs, they got a lot of positives that they can work on to potentially be very, very good. Do I want Apollo or Sneaky? Sneaky really showed off today. I think Apollo has been doing a lot of work for his team, though, to be honest. I think Apollo is probably. He's a monster at this split. I don't know how to rate them, to be honest. Usually they're both kind of more background players. Like they're not players like Turtle where you're playing Tristana and you W in and that's how your team initiates. With you W in and then you get followed up by Braum so that you don't die instantly. Like that. Neither of those players are the types of players to do that. But they're just very, very good at being able to impact the game. So it's hard for me to quantify how good each individual player is, especially comparatively to each other. Is mid lane now the most significant carry position in League? Mid lane has been the most significant carry position in League since the inception of the game. Even in situations, with one exception, I think back in Season 2, the AD position was the best position in the game. But aside from that season, I think mid lane, and even in that season, I think mid lane was comparable. But I think in every other season, mid lane is just the most influential role in the game. Mid lane has the most options to do, because if you're winning mid lane, you have the most, you can do anything. You can mess with the enemy juggler, mess with both side lanes, or mess with your own lane. And so, generally, if you're playing mid lane, it's also the hardest to play because you're making probably the most decisions over the course of the game. And unless you're playing like brainless wave clear champions mid lane, like you have the most options to be able to do stuff. And while other roles may be more brainy than you at certain points, like for instance, I think early game jungling is probably one of the hardest things to do in terms of just like being able to read the map, especially if you're not given full vision at level 1. I think early game jungling is really, really difficult and definitely requires a lot of thought. I think that role typically requires less and less as the game progresses, while mid lane typically requires a high amount throughout. When are teams gonna permaban who he sold? Dude, I actually don't blame teams for giving who he sold one game in a series because he's shown he doesn't prioritize it a lot, and as long as your mid laner can do okay into Soul, for instance, like I think Ori matchup is actually really good. It's like the best meta bin into Soul. It's okay, especially because COG tends to not prioritize that champion a lot in series. Like sometimes they'll be up and they don't play it. But yeah, it is something that you should seriously consider banning against them if you're your mid laner can't deal with Soul or your team can't deal with Soul well. Which at the moment, like, his Soul is amazing, really, really good. Thoughts on Delta Fox? Talk about Delta Fox. Do I really want to talk about Delta Fox? How do I talk about the team that's 1-16 in game record, 0-8 in series record? Man, I'm gonna start crying now. I'm actually so. It sucks to just lose a lot. And actually, I talked to Loco the other day, and Loco was just like, dude, with like one roster change, you guys could actually be like competitive. Like you could take a lot like games from a lot of teams. And I'm just like, because he was wondering why we had three mid laners, and I was just like, yeah, but this is what happened. Like we didn't know this was even gonna happen until the very end, and so we just got a roster and ran with it. I think it just sucks because no one on the team likes to lose, and even though we're trying, it's like since we can't play a lot together, it's just very difficult. What was my expectations of the team? I thought we would not do well. Whereas two of the members of the team thought we would do really well. I had much more realistic expectations because I knew that playing against players who played together like for months was going to be difficult. However, I expected to do a little bit better than we are now. Like I expected to at least have won a series by now. We're going into the last week in 2 weeks, two's last final best of threes, and we just gotta win the series, dude. I'm we gotta do it. Wait, is Mark here? Because I actually. Oh, wait, I think Mark is here. Oh, I have to let Mark in. Oh, my bad. I will be right back, guys. Enjoy the couch. Pretend you're sitting here next to me. I'll be right back in a couple minutes. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your host with the most. Okay, well, I've returned with Mark from his journey from Riot offices. Currently, he is in the restroom.
No, I'm tweeting.
Tweeting in the restroom.
I got a tangent to go on before we start.
A tangent?
Yeah. You can change the things that were wrong on ranting.
Oh, yeah. Okay, cool. You rant. I gotta do production because Josh isn't here.
Well, you can do it or do you want to do it?
I can do it. It's fine. All right.
I stole some lights in here, huh? Can we look?
I got one.
Actually, it looks
I didn't see the other light, to be honest.
I left the cord at your house from when we shot,
Oh,
so I didn't have it to take to set up the other light.
okay. Let me pull this. Out real quick. We just exit all of this stuff.
What the fuck's with the phones on?
Yeah. Anyways, while we're going through production difficulties, you guys just sit around and just chill for a little bit.
All right, whatever.
Where's my dog?
All right, so the first series is C9 versus TSM from yesterday.
Hold on. I got it. Just sit down.
You got it? You sure you got
just
it?
Sit down and do it.
All right.
Wait. TSM versus Fox?
The camera's tilted.
Is it really?
Camera's super tilted. Hold on, let me pull it up. Let me see this shit. Or you...
It's tilted.
It's tilted.
It's just because after I watched the Echo Fox series, I just...
Is that better?
Yeah.
How are we looking?
That's a lot better.
We pretty straight now? Hold on, we gotta angle this shit down a little bit more. How's that? Oh, there we go. That looks a little bit better, right? Ruined?
No, you're good. Where's the thing I did? C9 versus TSM. There we go. Jesus. Alright. You rant, I'll type.
Still gonna be a little tilted. I mean, I'm not gonna fix that shit. We don't got a level. Alright, so here's what I gotta rant about. I don't know why, but for some reason this split, every single day feels like it ends on such a fucking downer.
Yeah, it's all.
Every day is like, oh, well, here we go. To conclude the day, we have two awful teams barely playing League of Legends to close you out of the LCS. And, like, any hype where you're like, let's talk about the CLG C9 series. That was fucking wild. Instead, you're just like, can we end the day? Like, I end LCS and I come home like, dude, let's get through this stream, please. Because every single time, it's just so bad. And, like, we should be hyped up because the top four teams are, like, this complete square where, like, CLG beat C9, who beat TSM, who beat Immortals, who beat CLG in the past 2 weeks. It should be super hype, but you just can't fucking care about it because every day ends with Echo Fox TL, Envy Dig,
What?
this piece of shit versus that piece of shit, and you just don't care at the end of it.
Wait. But this is just a scheduling thing. It's not like a thing where...
Yeah. I'm not saying like the LCS is bad because there's just like the first two series of today were super fucking hype.
Yeah.
They were sick. It's a scheduling thing that every day ends and it makes everyone want to go to bed. And
you're saying
sucks.
the last series, TL versus Fox was the one that would keep you up.
Do you know what we did for the post game segment? The only replay we took was a highlight of what hats the Pulsefire Caitlyn pulled from the portal. Did you know her recall animation pulls random hats out?
Really?
Yeah, I didn't know that, so we just went over that. That was the only highlights we pulled.
Oh my
talking about that.
God, that's impressive, dude. I actually didn't know about that. That's actually a good highlight.
Yeah, and that's the sad thing. Is like for that game, that was the best highlight you could have hoped for because everything else was just so booty. And it's not like this is the first. I feel like every week we end and we come to this and it's like,
well, it's cause that's how Riot does it. It's okay. The first game on Friday is going to be really good, and the first games on Saturday, Sunday are going to be really good, and the next set.
It doesn't. It's not always like that. I remember series would end, or maybe it's just some kind of like weird confirmation bias. But I feel like in the past, you would have like C9 versus CLG at the end of the day, and it would end with a crazy backdoor. Everyone would be popping off on Reddit and just going crazy, and Twitter's going wild. And now the day ends, and like everyone's just already asleep. And what time is it on the East Coast? It's almost 10. This is 9:30. You're getting dinner with your family, and you're going to bed.
Yeah, and they're popping on Greatest League Talkshow while they go to bed.
Maybe. I bet more people would pop on a Greatest League Talkshow if it was like, oh my god, CLG upset C9. Let's talk about this. Or if you even call it an upset. But instead, I didn't even have any notes. Game 3 between Fox TL, I didn't write down the draft. I didn't take any notes. I just saw 5 kills like 30 minutes into the game.
I think it ended with 8 kills.
Yeah, and like, it was so brutal. Anyways, we're Greatest League Talkshow.
We're Greatest League Talkshow. We are a premier League of Legends competitive analysis show featuring the North American region. Okay. This is my co-host Mark.
Woo!
Very grumpy.
Woo! No, I'm happy, dude. I'm happy to be here.
I'm the other host, Scarra. You may have heard of me. If you haven't, you're on my channel. You're hearing me very soon. Welcome to the show.
We're going to break down the games from Friday, yesterday, and today, all 6 series, but I have a feeling 2 of them we will gloss over relatively heavily.
You are maybe correct.
I don't want to talk about the 47-minute Game 2, 57-minute Game 3 of NV versus P1 too much, nor do I wish to
talk about the last series.
Yeah, so...
Which actually have a decent amount to say about the FlyQuest games, though. I didn't think they were...
No, I didn't mind that.
Yeah.
I think there was enough to talk about just because, like... It was really back and forth, and there was an upset. But yeah, so let's get into it with the first series, which was still a highlight one. And my notes are somewhere here. I took them down, I swear to God.
Ooh.
They're on the back of one of these pages.
It's C9 versus TSM.
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out where I took my notes down.
All right, while he's looking at the notes, this was...
I'm a fucking mess.
A really good...
In my room?
This is a pretty good series.
Yeah, it was fun.
It's a 3-game series. Went to the wire, and C9 beat TSM in kind of what most would consider to be a fairly big upset, where C9 currently being, I think, 5th place in the ladder.
Yeah, so C9, everyone knows that they're decent, but it feels like they really crutch on Jensen to carry them. And for the most part, he actually did a good job carrying them versus TSM, where he usually struggles.
I was going to say, is there any difference with this series? Like, he did.
No. That's the thing, is like, when you put him up, it's like, oh, there's this Kryptonite Bjerg. Bjerg always seems to get the better of him. In Game 1, it felt like that was kind of the story before he hulked out Game 2 and Game 3.
Yep.
So, you want to get right into Game 1? I feel like there's not too much to recap on. It's like big upset here.
I guess the only thing I would also say is that Contracts played a great series.
He actually had a super good series.
Yep. Comparatively to Sven, that Contracts just played super well. But let's start at the very top. First game.
Mm-hmm. So first game, pretty standard out of both teams. Apparently, Hanser fucking loves Kled now. He plays it all the time.
A lot of people just really like Kled right now.
Yeah, but he's playing it like literally almost every game he can. He played it twice this series. I think he played it both games today. I'd have to check again, but he loves Kled. Anyways, there's a bunch of skirmishes around mid this game.
As usual, when they brought the stat for C9's jungle proximity, it was just 24% mid lane. It's like, oh my god.
Yeah. Does he have double-digit jungle proximity in the other two?
He has 3% top and 10% bot. Something like
barely,
that.
Yeah.
So it was just 20% plus was mid lane, and then when you look at I think it showed it against Dardox today. Dardox was
15% top.
Yeah, something like that, and you're just like, wow, he just actually just camps mid so hard.
Literally lives mid. This game, it felt good out of C9 just because even though they lose this game, Impact looked good, and they actually used Renekton and Elise to dive and force the Kled to go home.
I had so many good things to say about this game. I knew this series would be good because sometimes when you watch series let's say the last playoff series last split, where you're just okay, well, it's TSM versus C9, but TSM, they're fairly clearly the better team. In terms of when the team's losing, the ability to hold on because you're just a good team and you know what fights to take, where you could trade, stuff like that. TSM showed that. C9 in the last split finals just were getting blown out when they were losing, just completely blown out. In this series, I thought C9 did a great job recovering. And I thought, a really good example of something that I want to see more of actually is, I'd always talked about Jensen being he's just a laner. the premier laner in North America, just laning monster.
Yeah.
And because of that, all the resources go mid. And all the pressure from the enemy team typically goes mid as well. So everything from his team, everything from the enemy team. This game, though, he gets solo killed by Bjerg, coming back from the bot lane play. And what does he do? To recover the game, he goes top lane with his jungler after he shoves the mid lane wave, breaks open, or gets a double kill, and breaks open first tower as his mid lane tower is about to fall.
Yeah, well,
to put them back into like the driver's seat.
But TSM's answering pretty well as well. They have a play that they go bottom with, and overall both teams are like, it's a very scrappy game. There's like kills all over the place that they're finding a lot. But Contract, I think, is the big standout player this game, just because he had like an insane kill participation, kept finding the ganks, and they weren't just around mid lane, most importantly.
Right, like he would get the pick on Sven while he was clearing the ward mid.
Yep.
He would get the fight started top lane. This guy was just like a pick machine for the most part.
The only problem was they were giving up the dragons. So like the time that he went top for the Renekton Elise thing, TSM on the bot side grabbed dragon. And then there's another play a little bit later that they got dragon at like 21-30.
To be fair, in this situation, I don't think he could have stopped it because their main winning lane was top, and their bot side was losing. Both the mid and the bot lane. The bot lane losing I expected because they got counterpicked in both positions.
Yeah, well, Kalista Thresh versus Tahm Kench Jhin is not good at all.
It's really bad for Kalista Thresh. And when I saw them early pick that, I was just like, good luck.
Yeah, that was pretty brutal. But my point with the dragons was like what happened later in the game, because while they probably couldn't have contested them that well, at the end of the day, it's still double Mountain Dragon going over to TSM, which allows them to eventually get a Baron.
Yes, and so when you're playing this comp, the first thing you have to realize when you're CC9, even if you don't recognize it at the very beginning of the game, is you realize that your AD is short range, and outside of, like, your comp actually beats their comp. Because in, like, a neutral position, because Victor Poke beats everything on their team. So the only thing you lose to is if your AD carry that's short range over chases and extends into Ori ulti. And that happened the entire game. Actually, I was pretty upset that C9 kept getting hit by these. And what would suck is they would get hit by these, and then after Sneaky took 90% of his health bar, he would flash. And then you'd be like, wait, why don't you just flash the ulti? Like, if you're gonna overextend, just look at the ball and then flash the ball when you're diving in. But that just didn't happen.
Well, to be fair, I actually don't think C9's comp is that much better in a team fight because they're so low range. Like,
Is that yours or mine?
That's mine, dude. Why didn't you mute this shit?
I did. I put that on D&D.
Why don't you just close it?
Oh, I don't know.
What are you doing? Now everyone's gonna be checking their Skype. Guys, there's no Skype. That's just us.
Like, the thing is, it's like, yes, their comp is relatively short range, but I think outside of the Jhin on the enemy team, like, they have, what are they dealing with? Kench?
Ori. At some point, you're gonna have to chase over an Ori ball.
But the thing is, it's like, yes, you just take it very, very slow, and you have Victor slow and his poke to work around. I think that, especially with C9 having the lead initially, there's no reason for them to overchase in the Ori ball because they have no initiation on the other team, and the only way they die is again just.
I think they have better initiation on TSM side. Kled, Tahm Kench, Lee feels like better initiation than Kalista Thresh Elise.
I think only the Kled and the Lee feel like initiation. I don't really like
Kalista Elise is, Kalista Thresh Elise is literally like throw Thresh at them.
Yeah, but you don't need to. Like, you can get picks with the situation, or you can kite back really easily. Like, if you walk up with Thresh, or like Thresh could tank the Kled
yeah, but
ulti.
like the same way that you're saying like Victor outranges them, who threatens Jhin on this team without like a big flanker catch up?
Jensen. Jensen is your main threat.
Yeah, but Jhin doesn't ever need to walk into range of.
But if they don't walk into range, then they just control. If they're ahead, Jensen plus Elise can control the area.
Sure, but I think it's harder than you're given.
Oh no!
Because like if C9 ever like pokes out the front line, they have to chase over Ori ball. If you ever hit the Kled or you hit the Ori or the Tahm Kench, if you want to get the kill, you have to run over Ori ball.
And that's where I disagree. I think if you chunk out their front line, you just start the objective and have them run into you. I think that's something or just disengage and look for like towers. Because this is something that happened in multiple areas, right? You look at the bot in the Dragon play where this happened and like Sneaky walked into an Ori ball. Okay, cool. Whatever happens, no one died in this situation. They just lost Dragon. And then when you look at the Baron fight, where like, okay, they won the team fight, and then they overchased into the choke, and Ori ball hit Sneaky again. You know?
Yeah. Well, I don't think Sneaky played particularly well, for sure. He got hit by way too much stuff. Either way, it did feel like they were behind just from the dragon situation because TSM forced like that Baron very quickly that one time.
That was a really good call by them.
Yeah.
Double mountain, straight rush Baron when the other team was out of position, and that kind of swung the game back into their favor.
Yeah, because they had fallen out a little bit. And then eventually, like you said, that one Baron fight at 31 minutes, that Sneaky just...
They just overchased.
Yeah.
Like, it's what happens when you're playing a very short range AD carry into an Ori Jhin.
Yeah.
You're gonna be... It's painful. Very painful.
Anyways, moving on to game 2, the C9 comeback. Ray comes into the game, picks up the J4 versus Kled, takes the not great matchup to carry or whatever, or some shit, and then he just kind of gets destroyed in lane after Impact had a good game.
Yeah, and then that was the funniest thing, and the only way he got back into this game is because TSM overextended in the bot lane situation.
Yeah.
I mean... Was that
this game?
Yeah. Okay. So what ended up happening was
first Jensen gets a solo kill on Bjerg.
Yeah, that was
gets the flash auto Q.
Oof. Good recovery from getting solo killed the first game. You know, I think both of these players are fairly equal in skill, and Jensen's typically been looked at as the better laner of the two. But like Mark said, in series play, Bjergsen typically out impacts Jensen like every time.
Yeah, and I think it's one of the few examples where you can say Jensen definitely got the better of Bjerg, not just in lane, but in the team fights as well. Anyways, he gets the solo kill, and then like you said, C9 try and force a dive down the bot lane. TSM repel it very well, and then 3v4 start chasing them up the lane, and then C9's like, wait, you don't have a turret behind you anymore. We're just going to fucking kill you.
Yeah, you just get flash body slam to the ᵐᵉᵐᵉ combo, and everyone dies, and they take the tower, and I'm just like, wait, you repel... Like, Elise is solo pushing top lane when this happens, and you guys decide to walk up on 4-man without, and then just die. And the worst thing is, the way this started actually made me so mad because C9, Contracts had Gragas and he had Flash. So he could have actually just blown open the dive instantly. Yeah. But instead, he doesn't want to blow a Flash in the first time because he either doesn't think he's going to get it or he thinks he's going to bait the Flash. And it just is disengaged like terribly. Like it's just a bad situation for them, and somehow they scrap out to where not only they recover, their top lane that's down 20 CS gets both kills. So now it looks like, oh wow, Ray's doing great.
It looks like he's doing great, and I mean, I guess it was good follow up, but it was kind of just like if you're Hansi, you're kind of like, you fuck this shit. I've been like outplaying him, and now he's coming back into my lane with 2 kills.
And the best thing about this, or I guess the worst thing about this for C9 is like randomly Ray just dies twice bot lane. Like he would just like
I think it was like Bjerg would roam down a little bit and like find the pick off, but it shouldn't have really happened.
No, like the first one was he throws the flag, but he throws it into range.
Into the wall, yeah.
So it goes past his max Q range, and then he Qs, and he's like, oh, I can't follow. And then he dies for free.
Yep.
And then he just gets soloed by Elise because he overextended again. So I thought Ray generally had like a really bad game.
The saving grace was like, even though TSM started getting these kind of like kills, they weren't like objective kills. It wasn't like, oh, we're threatening a dive and then we dive and break a turret. It's like, wait, Ray's in the middle of river and he can't go anywhere. He's dead. So it didn't feel like TSM was getting a ton off of them. And then C9 was still getting the lead in objectives. And then eventually they started forcing around Baron super well.
And what I said about the first game where C9 overextended into Ori Ball, I thought TSM played at least the first 2 team fights very well around the fact. You saw them take like 1 kill and not go farther.
Yeah.
I thought TSM did a great job of doing what C9 failed to do the first game.
Yeah.
I say that as they lost the series, but the first 2 fights especially, I thought TSM had a really, really clear idea of how the team fight.
It felt like they were crawling back into this game. And this was this the game where like Tristana just started going the fuck off at Baron?
Yes. No,
so like TSM actually crawled back into the game to the point where they had a lead.
And then what ends up happening, Sven gets picked.
Yep.
Which, C9 starts Baron. Then Bjerg gets picked. Okay. And then I think they get pushed out of Baron.
They get pushed out. I think, they either pick 2 or 3 people off that.
Yeah, they get pushed out. But then what happens, Sneaky then gets a random Zyra kill mid lane. So they get a 3-for-0 off like the most random situation possible. And then Sneaky just starts like just going crazy.
Yeah, he's out of control this game. And they just keep going back to Baron, and they have like TSM has to keep running at them, and then they just keep getting shot by Tristana and Ori, and it's just fucking hilarious.
Yeah, Trist hits her 3 to 4 item mark, where I think she had her Lord Dominic's, and at that point, your front line can't tank Triss. Triss just melts your team.
Yeah, TSM's front line sucks anyways. It's Kled, basically.
Yeah, which doesn't build armor, and at least which builds like one armor item.
Yeah, even then. They were so screwed versus Tristana once she got online. And yeah, there was like that 4,000 gold lead, or it's like 3,000 maybe for TSM. The Sven pick into just like constant TSM deaths, and the game's over like 5 minutes later almost. And you're like, wait, what happened? TSM had a 5k gold lead.
And it was really just sneaky. Just doing a lot of work this game. That's why he got player of the game.
C9, to be fair, played well around him to kind of like force TSM to walk forward to get destroyed by the Trist, but it was sneaky. Kind of saying, yo, fuck you, Scarra.
Why?
I don't need to play. I can play well. I'm not going to walk into Ori balls all day.
Yeah, dude.
Because Ori's on my team now.
I was going to say. No, and you should really think about this, by the way. Like, Ori is becoming, like, every time there's a series play, when they goes multiple games, mini metas start to form. And the mini meta that formed is that Ori priority in this series shot up really, really, really high. And so what happens in the third draft, TSM gets baited to take Ori very quickly. And then C9 apparently pulls out their anti-TSM comp.
Yeah, this is a pretty hilarious comp where it's like, all right, you have Lee, Sven, that's your best champ, that's fine. We'll take ᵐᵐ into it, and I'm just going to be fucking annoying against you the whole game to try and shut you down so you can't make plays. You have the Lucian counterpick, which we've seen a couple times out of Jensen now, and he's really good at it.
And the thing is, it's like, yeah, I play a lot of ᵐᵐ, so this is one of the picks that you want to play as ᵐᵐ because Lucian gives you all the pressure, and you can give Lucian every buff.
Yeah.
So it's similar to like where Lucian Ivern was super popular. ᵐᵐ is just like the new Ivern.
And that's kind of where they play around. You talk about the ᵐᵐ Ivern combination. That's most of the action where there's a 2-for-0 around mid, there's a Jensen solo kill, and then once Jensen gets fed, he actually starts roaming the map really well as Lucian, which is weird to say.
And his team does a great job of being able to like set the ᵐᵐ up for invading the enemy jungle, so to speak. And so, yeah, they got a 4-minute Ocean Dragon, which is super important for the comp. And all this is being said when Ray actually has a great game on Rumble, running ᵐᵉ runes and Fervor. Yeah. It was just like, oh my god.
Yeah, it was hilarious. He had the most. As much as we're talking about Jensen going off, the Rumble had the most damage in the game by a huge amount.
And if you see what his ultis this game, he had a fantastic Rumble game. Like, he would have turned the gank 1v2 top lane if he had Deathfire.
Yeah.
And because he landed like the best Rumble ult you could possibly get.
Yeah, it was pretty ridiculous. TSM isn't like completely out of it. They do get some picks, but like with the double Ocean Dragon and like ᵐᵐ, because he went early Warmogs to get like a higher bonus health pool to use the Stoneborn Pact, whatever. They just have like ridiculous sustain, and they just like sit in front of objectives with Kate, Lucian, ᵐᵐ. It's like the most annoying comp you can have.
Like the only reason TSM I think got back into this game was because they found really good picks onto Jensen.
Yeah.
One around mid tower dive. One I think he got hit with Thresh Hook at Dragon.
Yeah.
And so like they gave up quite a bit for Jensen dying, but he didn't like tilt or like start playing poorly. In fact, he played really, really well. Like the entire game outside of those deaths.
Yeah. And like we said, the ᵐᵐ Lucian Kate is just really dumb, especially with double Ocean Dragon. They have a ton of range. They have a ton of like control, and then like if you ever do break through all that control, you're probably low health. And even if you traded well with them, they just regen back up. And eventually that leads to a Baron.
I think once ᵐᵐ gets ahead in this position, he's unkillable. Actually, when he reaches his Warmog's timing, he just doesn't die.
You need like high deep. You need like a Trist or like something like that, and then you need to like stay out of the ice ball range so you can keep DPSing him down. But like Ori Jin, J4 Lee is like not the DPS you need to stop him.
Yep. But for the most part, that's the series. Do you have anything you want to conclude on this game?
No, I think it was just like you said. It was a good game series for contracts and a little bit for Ray. Just like even though Jensen was still kind of the primary carry overall, I'd say there's the second game where Tristana stepped up or Sneaky stepped up, and then the third game where Ray stepped up a lot. So
yeah, and even the first game I thought Impact did great. Juan laid really hard.
He was like up 20 CS or something. And they were playing around him with like the Elise, so I don't know.
So people asked me about C9 in the pre-show, and one of the things I wanted to say about this team was that they have a lot of downsides right now because players that were playing well last split weren't playing as well. So both top laners before this series, as well as I thought Smoothie was having just a worse split, just period.
I think part of it was like the team had been playing worse, and he's like the primary shot caller. I think that put like more pressure on him, especially in like the new engaged meta for support.
Right, like, and we can't tell the reason, but he's actually like getting picked in random locations, just like not doing a great job. And when he's doing that, Jensen is having like the greatest split ever, and Contract stepped up really hard. So this is a team with a lot of positives going into like the second half of this split. They can do really well.
And that was before today when they lost. All right, so next up. P1 versus Envy, baby.
This is the first Friday, I think, with a full best of three, 2 full best of 3s.
Yeah. Why don't you take me away on game 1? Because game 1 wasn't that bad.
He just left me to go to the restroom.
Oh, I'm grabbing my phone. Just take me away. I'm listening.
Okay. Game 1. Was there much to talk about this game?
No, not really. It was fast, though.
I mean, I guess. I think it's interesting that Envy decided to play Purion. Aside from that, just Ryu had a pretty good series, I thought. It just felt like Purion just didn't have the level of impact that you would expect from another mid laner. Like he has a weakness is that you kind of would expect he's someone that's like kind of a passive player, won't ever lose lane, but can follow up really well. But sometimes you need carry performances from your mid lane. A lot of times you do. And he's not stepping up to be able to be like, oh, that's me, dude. I'm right here. Unless he's playing on like Talia or Talia. For the most part.
And this was definitely like just a not great series out of Envy overall, where you're wondering why they brought Niski over. He looked all right for the first week, and then you put Purion back in, and you're kind of like, how do you not know which one you want to use at this point?
And I'd be okay with it, and it's like randomly they just have a Karma mid lane the third game, and I'm
with
like,
a Jhin, so you're not even supporting like a hyper carry.
Yeah, it just felt really bad in terms of what he was bringing to the table. I mean, Ryu did really well this series. I think ᵐᵉ, Mike Young's kind of like just scrapped each other. Like, actually just beat up each
That's
other.
what was so annoying, was like game 2 and game 3 started so hype, where they were just like level 3 fighting over blue, and then like they bumped top lane.
Yeah.
It's sick. They like, it's like a Dragon Ball Z fight where they hit each other away and they go like flying into different mountains. Except then like instead of having like an epic showdown, it just turns into this like grindy like slugfest power up arc. It's like you think the final battle is going to happen, and then it's like, hold on, we got 20 episodes of filler.
It's the training arc.
Yeah. It's like where they show how strong the villain is, and then before they actually fucking fight him, they have to prepare. And they prepared flashbacks.
They prepared a lot. This was
a lot of preparation.
Full 3-game series, and they had, I think the game went to 50 minutes.
The second game went to 46, and the third game went to 57.
Just a ridiculous series.
That's why I said take me through game 1, because after game 1, it's literally like very scrappy early game between ᵐᵉ and
Okay, so the way game 1 is, I think that Xpecial and Arrow did a great job of being able to be in the right positions, force fights on their terms. Xpecial did get picked off here and there, but for the most part, if you're watching Xpecial and Arrow team fight, they had ridiculous team fighting and the ability to start fights. Arrow especially just literally flashing into 3 people running away, throwing in his support.
He was
gunning people down.
He's nasty in late game situations. Their early game stats are fucking abysmal. It was like Arrow had the worst early game stats in the league before swapping to Xpecial, and it got worse when he came.
Really?
Yeah, and this is with Mike Young becoming like the kind of like powerhouse, scrappy early game jungler to force attention to him so their bot lane gets less, and it's still worse.
Yeah, but the way this game ends is that ᵐᵉ randomly died. Actually, he just died mid lane, and then they got Baron for free, and the game's over. Which was kind of anticlimactic based on how scrappy like Arrow and Xpecial were playing, but that's just what happened. And then after this series, Kalista just gets banned the next game.
Yeah, and I forget what he plays game 2.
He plays...
It's not Jhin.
Varus.
Yeah, okay,
it's
Bars.
Varus Braum.
And then third game he plays Jhin, that's right.
Yes.
But anyway, second game... What do you say about Envy here?
All right, second game, ᵐᵉ plays probably one of the best early games you could possibly hope for in competitive play. Envy starts 5-0, with ᵐᵉ being part of all 5 kills. They're up 3,000 gold at the 8-minute mark. Like some ridiculous number. And then they just decide, you know what, we don't want to play a safe. We think we can extend our lead even harder. they and then they just start doing like really dumb decisions back to back to back. And to be fair, the other team capitalized on poor mistakes of the enemy team. But it's like if you're a team that has the 5-0, you're throwing the game. It's not like the other team did like a fantastic job to make it go to 8-8 or because they just played super well. No, it's because you must have done something bad at the same time.
It's kind of like the Team Liquid syndrome, where like sometimes a team will just int into them. They'll take 5 kills and they're like, "What do we do with this lead?" And they just throw it away because they don't want it. They don't know what to do.
Yeah, so like let's just look. It was 5-0. What happens? They dive mid lane. They get 2 for 1 on tower. Ori just double kills them with the tower. Okay, and then they go bot. Was it bot lane?
I thought it was bot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Their support dies overextending because he gets Varus ultied into in the tower range. All right, he dies, and then the mid lane rotated bot lane. They caught the Ryu at the dragon. He died there, and they lost dragon. And then they fought top lane after that multiple times. They had. I think they traded over the course of 2 minutes 3 for 1 in the top river, and somehow the game went from 5-0 to 8-8 or 8-9.
And then the game drags on forever until.
Well, let's. I don't think you really can understand or appreciate how much this game drags. So,
do we want to make them appreciate or understand it?
P1 get a 4-0 with Baron buff, right? After a pick, they get Baron, full duration of Baron, and then they get full duration of Elder Dragon, and they can't crack the base. They can only even get close to sieging the base, and then they get a pick and they lose a 4v5 on Baron. Is that what ended up happening? Yeah. They got a pick on Baron, decided to start with half health, and they just got absolutely smashed inside the Baron pit, and the game ended.
Yes.
It took 56 minutes to where...
46.
46 minutes 56. For this to happen.
Yeah. Which leads us to game 3, which is, for the most part, the exact same story we just told, but kind of reverse, where like, you know, Mike Young has a great early game and gets them out to a big lead before they start making mistakes, and they let Envy slowly crawl back into the game, and then they just don't do anything.
No, and the thing is about this series this game was what happened to Zig. Literally, he would be split pushing, and there was
he just kept getting picked.
He just got picked like nonstop. Like he was a pick machine, dude.
So one thing I'll say is he was playing Jace into a double TP comp with Karma and Renekton. So like when you're a 4-1 comp against a 1-3-1 double TP, like you do get collapsed on a little bit more than you're used to.
Yes, but dying like 4 times when split pushing it, like one or 2 times, I'm like, okay, you know, that's not bad.
Yeah,
4 times you're just like, Jesus, dude, are you okay? You watching the map? Your team talking to you? Like, you talking to your team? Yeah, Zig made this game extend out quite a bit, in my opinion.
Yeah, Zig. Why'd you do that, dude? I actually stopped watching. I watched the highlights this morning to catch back up. I don't know how they put a highlight video together for this game. It was like 5 minutes of the first like 15 minutes and then like 3 minutes of the last 50.
I don't even want to talk about this series anymore. Are you done with this series?
I'm so done, dude. I'm done.
All right, we're skipping this series. In the end, I don't think Envy is very happy because they lost. I don't know but I'm glad P1's picking up wins before Rift Rivals. That's the only good thing you can say about the series.
Yeah, but it didn't give you any confidence.
Well, I mean, I'm confident they'll probably get smashed.
Yeah. That's not what I meant, but yeah.
I mean, it gave
usually when you're picking up wins, you're like, oh yeah, we're figuring stuff out, and this is like, neither team knew what was going on.
All right, let's get into today.
Let's get into today, starting out with Immortals versus TSM.
2 great series.
Yeah.
Actually, really good.
Yeah, that was on Ace. The first stream, over on the second stream, you have CLG versus C9.
Oh, so it was probably the best time to watch 2 streams at the same time.
Yep.
So I guess we'll just jump straight into TSM versus Immortals.
This was a surprising 2-0 for TSM.
Oh yeah, especially for after they lost to C9 the day before. The C9 breaking their big streak and Immortals being the #1 team in the ladder. I was expecting this to be 3 games.
At the very least,
closer.
yeah. Or like just straight up an Immortals win.
Yeah, so this is a 2-0 TSM win. First game, Bjergsen.
Syndra.
Yeah.
Bjerg, bullshit.
Just straight up, I don't know what else to say.
And to be fair, he didn't like feed himself. It was like team plays that got him fed.
But
once he got fed, it was like, God damn, dude, Syndra's so dumb. It's like he used 5 kills at I think like 17 minutes and had double pen boots. or a double pen item. So he had his Leandries complete with Morello, Namicon, and pen boots. And it's like, who's gonna walk up to that? He's against I think it was a Rek'Sai who had like a Hex Drinker, and it's like, dude,
He was also against Ori.
Yeah.
And literally, Pobelter starts like 0-4 this game.
Yeah.
Alright, but before we get deeper, what happened in the second game?
The second game was Immortals picked this like all melee plus Kog'Maw like become a fat meat shield team comp, and TSM picked one that like melts frontline really well. And so it was like pretty scrappy, but TSM's comp came out a little bit ahead, as well as like they forced the Baron.
Oh yeah, they snuck a Baron.
They started doing the Dignitas,
which I think is really smart. They sneak Barons all the time.
Yeah, and it works. A lot of teams are just like not prepared. If you get like a mountain or two, just like fucking start a Baron and see what happens.
Yep.
And I don't really like that, to be fair.
Sometimes I think it's really good.
Sometimes it's good. This game was one that I thought was okay in the second game. Anyways, back to the first game. So this was a little bit of a back and forth game before there was like that one big team fight around like Infernal Dragon. So first, Immortals like rotates top. They dive Haunter. That's a good play to get their bot lane out of there because Jhin TK once again versus Kalista Thresh. We already talked about not a good matchup for Kalista Thresh. So they get him up to the top side, start trading turrets, and that's kind of what they do. They get a pick on Bjerg, and Immortals is playing all right.
Yeah, no, and then you know the series is going to be good because when TSM collapsed into Immortals bot lane, they like do some
crazy escape.
Yeah, they did an insane escape where 2 people dodged 5 using Kalista Thresh like.
Yeah, they used 2 flashes and just an ultimate, and
then bounced their position from like the river all the way into their jungle, which is really, really nice. Super good escape by them, and then the dragon fight happens.
Yeah,
where it's a full-blown 5v5 where goodbye Pobelter.
Immortals gets the Infernal, to be fair, but they get aced.
Yes, and Pobelter just like doesn't. One, he's positioned kind of poorly this game. I would say the first 2 deaths.
Yeah.
But in this position, he also doesn't get much help. He just gets targeted out by both solo laners with TSM, and then Bjerg just goes crazy with Haunter backing up.
I was going to say, Haunter was really big, because even though they got an ace, I think it was 3 for 5 or 2
3 for 5.
Yeah. So it was Haunter and Bjerg that lived at the end, but there's some champions that like if they get fed earlier on, it's way, way, way worse. Like
and that's Syndra.
That's Syndra. Syndra's basically the worst case scenario to get fed early on, and like it was one of those games where like even after this ace, I think the gold was only like a couple hundred apart. But at no point did you feel like Immortals was going to win.
And it was especially obvious because when they started pushing up mid, it was just Bjerg walked up with one other person, and immediately it's like he parts the seas. Like the other team just like steps all the way back.
This is your land, sir. You may.
It was disgusting. Like just the amount of pressure that Bjerg was able to extend on the lane and gave TSM so much room to be able to just ward the map and position exactly where they wanted to take the next fight.
And the thing was, you know, TSM picks 2 people off, but they try and do a Baron with Smithy alive. That's a big no-no this season. You don't risk Barons versus Smithy.
Yeah, he's stealing away Barons left and right. Just left and right.
Yeah, 25 minutes in, he steals away another Baron. It slows the game down, but TSM he doesn't even die when he steals this one. He just walks out.
Yeah, and the thing is, what happened before this was that TSM found a great pick on their bot lane.
Yeah, they got double kill on the bot lane.
Bjerg finds like a double stun into like just they didn't get deleted because of all the control that he established his team. He had full vision in topside jungle, and then they just lose the Baron to Xmithy because Xmithy can just steal Barons like he's got hotkey for it. It's macro.
Yeah, but even though they get the Baron, Immortals still can't really do much with it. I think they might get like 1 turret randomly, just like off being a little bit faster, and then TSM play it slow the rest of the game, and then like at 34 minutes, they find a pick, they start Baron up, but this time they just wait until they kill Xmithy. They just like run everyone at him with one person like holding Baron aggro, and then once they kill him, they take the Baron.
And this was pretty much a really I know, like you said, at no position did you think Immortals had a chance because Haunter was just split pushing them down the entire time.
Yep.
And then Bjergsen controlled so much space with his team, with Kench. Kench made them unpickable, and he would just walk up. And if you walked up against Syndra, you died. Or you got super hard chucked out. So TSM had full control of this game.
So TSM win, and then we move into game 2. And this is like we were saying, Immortals take Galio, Olaf, Renekton, Braum, plus Kog'Maw. So just like this disgusting front line. But they're all melee, short range, and they kind of need to dive onto somebody. And TSM takes Thresh with Cassio, Tristan, Gnar. Basically, 3 of the best killing frontline that you could hope for in the game.
Yes.
And it makes a pretty interesting game overall where, like, Immortals needs to dive onto Cassio, but she can reposition with Thresh, and then like if their dive fails right away, they kind of get melted down. But at the same time, Kog'Maw's kind of hitting like crazy because there's no way for TSM to get to the Kog'Maw, so Kog'Maw's free the whole time, and it's just like a little bit of, does Immortals dive work? And then if not, will they be able to survive long enough for Kog'Maw to carry?
Yeah, and this was a really back and forth game where like not only they trade sides of pressure, they trade like a tower for Dragon. They trade even in team fights. They're trading like 4 for 3, and then for the most part, you think Immortals is going to take over because Olaf Galio was just a really strong combo, and then they just ended up overextending. I think it was in the bottom jungle fight.
Well, that one was actually 4 for 3 for Immortals. Still.
Oh yeah, because they extended too hard into Kog'Maw, who then ended up cleaning up the fight.
That's why it was so cool of a fight, because they try to get onto Cassio, they don't get onto Cassio. Bjergsen goes for a flash alt reinitiate to slow everyone down, and then he gets turned on and killed. And this whole time, no one's hitting Kog'Maw. And then Kog'Maw flashes over the wall, gets onto Bjerg, and I think he lives plus one other, and it's a 4 for 3, and it's just like absolutely insane team fights.
And Immortals is in a great spot, and TSM sneaks Baron, and all of a sudden. Tides turned. Tides changed.
Yes, the tides have
changed.
Tides have changed.
Turned.
I forget if they had a mountain dragon or not, but
they did. I think
they had one mountain.
Yeah, it was the first dragon they did. I think the one they traded.
Oh yeah,
for.
Yeah. So they get this one mountain dragon, and then Cassio Nartrist at 21 minutes is just like. And overall, it was just like the team fighting was really hard for Immortals. Like you look at this comp, and usually you think like, oh my god, face roll, but Gnar actually does a lot of damage because no one really stacks armor on this side. Like Olaf Renekton are usually building for the first 2 items like relatively health focused / damage.
Oh, and in general, Olaf comps are only good if the Olaf can take enough damage. Yeah. So what happens is Olaf comps are great when you're ahead. Like if you're ahead, Olaf is unkillable. And you just lose every fight.
He kills your backline. He lives at 50% health, and then like they just clean up dude.
Yeah, you can't do anything. But if you fall behind with Olaf, he doesn't do anything. He's just a madman that runs into you. You get free hits on him, and he can't run away fast enough, so he dies. And Galio can't keep him alive long enough for it to matter.
And that's kind of what happens, is because even though Immortals has a slight lead, it's not big enough to face roll versus TSM's comp. And then with this Baron, TSM gets enough of a lead that they kind of fall out of the game. They do get a pick onto Sven at one point that allows them to try and force Baron, but Sven's really not important at all for TSM's comp. He's like just a fucking knockup bot. He's useless. He's a Rek'Sai pick when there's Thresh, Triss, Gnar,
when Rek'Sai T-Fon this time in these fights, he got 5 hit by Kog'Maw. Yeah. I'm pretty sure that's what happened. Yeah. And even though even though TSM got the Baron, it was still like TSM had to be very, very careful of Kog'Maw. Yeah. Very, very, very careful. Because Kog'Maw can also shred front line very quickly.
But yeah, there's the one time they pick Sven. They force the Baron, but they basically get aced for it.
And the game's over.
Yeah, the game's over. So, quick 2-0 out of TSM, surprisingly. Because even though we talk about these games being like super close and scrappy, it felt like once TSM got like a semi-substantial lead, the game ended. And both games, I think, were like 35 minutes.
Overall, looking in great form for Rift Rivals, actually. Really, really good.
If you're NA, you might start having a little bit of hope because C9 seemed like they were bouncing back.
And TSM's looking good. Really good.
Yep. So we'll move on to the CLG versus C9 series.
Which ended up being a 3-game series where CLG eventually won.
Yes. This was a pretty back and forth game with a lot of different strategies being used. Like both teams, like, okay, there's the Aurelion Soul split push one, and there's a Jax in there fucking randomly. And then game 3, both teams are like, we're losing our fucking minds. Let's go back to some standard stuff.
So classic CLG game 2?
Yeah,
that's what it's called now. Where it's
like game 1 is like, oh my god, CLG is the best team ever.
And then game 2 is like, wait, why'd you pick X? Why'd you do that?
X, yeah, why X?
And then so that happened, they lost, and then the 3rd game they win, and then you're just like, can this team ever win 2-0? Like ever. Against any team.
Alright, so going back to game 1, this was such a smart game from like almost like the first 15 minutes were just like immaculate. In terms of like draft is so smart. Well, partly because C9's retarded in draft. They have impact in there. CLG takes Gragas. CLG always prioritizes Gragas, and then they flex it between mid and jungle. Dark has played a ton of it. And for some reason, C9's like, Gragas, pick Rumble into it. Great matchup for Rumble. And then C9's like, wait, their CLG's just like, all right, we'll take Kled right now and fuck your Rumble up really hard. And then their second ban phase, they ban Lucian Syndra to kind of telegraph, like, hey, we're going to take Ori here if you don't. Ori, by the way, works great with Gragas, Kled, Tristana. Great AoE team comp. And then, so C9's like, all right, we got to take the Ori, whatever, it's Jensen. And then CLG's like, perfect, we'll take Aurelion Sol, and now we're just going to roam topside a million times and fuck up your Rumble really hard.
To be fair, I will say Ori's the best meta mid laner against Sol right now.
Oh, it's not
it's not bad, but like, yeah, Ori can't contain Sol until, I think, Blue Buff lost chapter, and by then, Sol should have, like, smacked one of your side lanes. Yeah. Like, just, or your jungler just silly.
And that's what happened, was like, Jensen got a 30 CS lead, played the matchup well, but for the first 10 minutes just had to sit mid. And during that time, Huhi made a lot of shit happen.
Yeah, during that time, top lane died, and then Huhi went top lane again. No, top lane died again.
Rumble was 0-3 at 8 minutes or something, which, by the way, includes a really nasty level 1 out of CLG. The Gragas takes body slam level 1, goes over the Dragon Wall, walks all the way behind Krugs to get on the other side, and then they have Morgana. So Morgana starts walking in. Rumble's like, oh shit, here's a Morgana, can't get bound. Bumps into Gragas. They get the chain CC with the Kled Bear Trap on a rope with Morgana behind. First blood. C9 tries to answer by going bot side and stealing away red buff.
And they get punished for it so hard.
They get punished so hard because CLG did this level 1 pretty early on, so they have time to run down there, collapse. They steal the red buff away from the invade attempt out of C9, and they get a kill onto Sneaky.
And the thing about all this being said is, like, this gave CLG like maybe like a 2 to 3K gold lead, and then it gets to the point where, like, oh, Jensen might start bringing the game back. Like,
yeah,
you're a little bit worried.
It got really scary actually for CLG because while we talk about Huhi going topside 2 more times, 2 more kills, it got to the point where it's like, all right, you're shitting on the Rumble, great. What else are you doing? And there really wasn't that much else going on.
While Jensen's mid lane 30, 40 CS lead, and he's just like, he's ready to win a team fight with a good ulti.
And even Contracts found a really good pick on Dardoch once or twice. I think he found a pick on Dardoch. But Contracts was playing well again this game. And then the bot lane fight happens at 17 minutes.
Yes, where Hui comes in really, really, really late. And for all extents and purposes, from C9's perspective, this fight's going great.
They should have won this fight, but Impact fucked it up really bad.
What did he end up doing?
So what happens is C9 forces onto CLG. CLG starts coming in, and then Impact starts teleporting into the middle of CLG, which he has flash up as Rumble. He's kind of behind, doesn't have Azanias or anything. And so what he does is he just panic ultimates, doesn't flash any CC, gets chain CC'd and insta-killed. He gets a little bit of damage out. C9 collapses first.
And Jensen hits a great shockwave.
Hits a great shockwave. And the problem is they only kill like one person. Afro barely gets out with any health. And then Huhi shows up.
Dardoch barely gets out with any health.
Dardoch barely gets out. Huhi shows up. Quadra kill ace for CLG. And like if Impact just flashed the binding, even if he just panic flashed out right away and then like equalized to cut off the escape, it would have had the same effect of holding CLG there long enough for Jensen to shit on the fight. But he just instantly died. He was weak anyways, but it was too much. And there's the ace. Not super clean after that.
CLG fight a very, very close 3-for-2 mid lane, and then CLG just blow open the game.
Partly because C9 just like randomly forced Baron.
And they force Baron, and then what happens when you force Baron and put yourself in a choke? Soul hits like a 4-man ulti, and it's just like, wait, you guys are actually stupid.
Yeah, well, it was such a weird one because there's like even teleport situation, and they're like, fuck it, Rumble, just come down here, we're gonna force Baron. And then Baron was like at 7k health by the time CLG like made it there, and they were like hard committed. They were in the pit up against the wall, like, we're finishing Baron. It's like, dude has over half health.
Hui's like so happy because in this situation, he's like, oh, you guys, this is free. You guys just suck.
Yeah, it was such a weird call.
5-for-0 Baron, game's over.
Yeah. I don't know what C9 was thinking. They were probably going to lose anyways, but they were just like...
That's not the all-in situation you double down.
Yeah, that is such a bad all-in situation. Anyways, CLG looked great game 1. You think they're going to win game 2?
Absolutely, dude. And then all of a sudden you're just like, what's that Jax doing here?
Yeah, so CLG last pick Jax in the J4. To be fair, Someday also played Jax today.
Yeah, but some days Jax made sense.
What are you trying to say?
I think in this situation, From what I understand, I heard the matchup isn't great for Jax, even though Zion won. But even if it was great for Jax, the current DPS split push counter pick to this is Camille. I know Darshan plays a good Camille.
Well, what's also weird is they picked it with like Vlad, which I didn't really like.
Yeah,
like,
they have no control of the fight at all.
Yeah, they have like zero. Like Rakan goes in to set up like this big wombo for what? Like Vlad, no.
But with
Jhin,
Vlad, no one can keep them close enough. That's why at least Camille, I was like, well, you have better team fight stuff, and you're still a good split pusher into Jarvan. A lot of people are picking the matchup right now.
Yeah. So either way, once you get into game, and by the way, C9 has generic C9 comp once again. Kate, Syndra, Braum, J4, Kha'Zix. Ray back in. Game 1 was with Impact, like we were saying. This time, Ray plays game 2 and 3 again. And like, for the most part, this was going okay for CLG.
Yeah, Zion gets a good lead by himself.
Yep.
Does a good TP bot lane, converts the TP to getting a kill for his team. He gets an early
the first
lead.
turret. He gets first turret because C9 go bottom.
Yeah.
And it's looking fine until Caitlyn's complete bullshit.
Yeah, and then they realize that they're picking Jax into Caitlyn Braum, and then that Jax can never do anything this entire game unless he gets like the biggest split push lead ever.
Yeah, I mean, this is a game where like standard tank top is probably infinitely better because you just need some way to instantly blow up the Syndra Kate combo, and there's just way too much appeal with J4 Kate Syndra Braum.
Yeah, I didn't think the Rakan made any sense either. Like I would have preferred what was possible, a Bard there, anything, a Morgana there would have been okay too. Like they had nothing to keep people still for anyone, and they had nothing to follow up the engage, and their engage wasn't even very it was all over the place.
If you have like some kind of wombo to follow up on the Rakan, this comp suddenly makes sense where it's like, okay, Gragas, Rakan, real tank that's not Jax, and Vlad all just like go flying in, and Jin's sitting far back and like pelting people. The comp might make a little bit of sense, but with Jax, it's just not quite there.
I mean, and even then, if you're gonna go rely on a Jax comp and you want to do like a 1-3 or like a
1-4, then you need better wave clear instead of a Vlad.
Yeah, a 1-4, or even a 1-3-1. Like the bot lane can't even wave clear that well with Rakan, Jhin, Gragas.
Yeah.
And so like I just didn't really understand what they're doing in the draft here, except for they just wanted to play Jax. That's actually what I just thought.
It does have one of those feels to it where it's like, what do you want here, Zion? We can do this, we can do this. And then like with 3 seconds left, he's like, pick me Jax.
Yeah.
And you kind of like, why do we do that?
Yeah. Totally just like, all right, we need a carry to this. We want a split pusher. You can play Camille and he's like, Jax. Give me Jax.
And yeah, Afro has no time, so he's like, fuck, Jax? Okay.
And then they lose.
Yeah, there was one skirmish where it felt like they might have been able to win, but like, Stixxay just fucking pelts the front line with his ult as Jhin. And like, there's a 50% health Syndra running around the backside trying to deal with Darshan. He has a clear shot at him, and he just sends all 4 shots into the front line. And I think they get cleaned up like 3 for 1 in that fight.
I just thought that once the Caitlyn got a lead, Caitlyn Braum, there's actually nothing you can do.
Yeah, the worst example was like CLG had split push advantage, and Caitlyn was doing bullshit things in the top lane. Darshan split push TPs behind, and then Rakan dies before he gets in there. He tries to jump on the Kate, lands on the trap, headshot, net away, headshot. He tries to run away, lands on another trap, headshot. And he's at like 30% health and they lose their turret.
They lose a turret, they lose their TP, and you're just like, she's going to be a problem this game.
Yeah, she's a fucking problem already. Eventually, C9 get a pick into Baron. There's a bunch of sieges, which is really annoying with Kate Syndra just fishing for like CC and damage.
And they have no good engage tools or no good follow-up to Rakan. Mm-hmm. And all Vlad follow-up can be blocked by Braum.
Yeah.
And nothing can reach Caitlyn in the first place. So this was almost an impossible team fight situation from COG. They need to get an insanely large lead with their split push to be able to win this game.
Or you maybe you win if the Caitlyn's kept really far down and you can actually 4-1. But with like a strong Caitlyn and Syndra, the 4-man core is so dominant that your 4-man core can't do anything.
Yeah. Cool. CLG game 2. Let's go to game 3.
Yeah, right. Typical CLG game 2. All right, game 3 is the Dardoch show, baby.
Dardoch played really well this game.
Yeah.
So what happens in this situation, a lot of comps when you're running like Shen Rek'Sai, which by the way is a great shell, you have to be really, really good at calling the Shen ultis to be able to start fights. And you as a Rek'Sai player need to not be afraid. You need to flash on every opportunity to start fights. He did a great job. Oh, first of all, CLG's level 1 was just smart.
Yeah, once again.
They stole this from some random team in another region. Because I know I saw this before where the bot lane leashes Wraith camp as well as red. You get and then you kill the first two things bot lane for level 3.
Yeah, and then you go to Krugs, but you don't full clear it right away.
Right. And then so you're level 3 when the enemy bot lane is level 1. He messed up the initiation. He literally could have just walked straight in, but he tried to like curve around it so they didn't get to the target that he was supposed to get on. Doesn't even matter. He's 2 levels above their bot lane. He still kills the bot lane.
Yeah, it's so. Honestly, it's actually fucking dumb that like a jungler can hit 3 when the bot lane's still level 1. And I mean, you should exploit this as much as you can.
Tony arrived like just as we're talking about.
You missed us talk about your game too, Tony. So we can go back if you want us to make fun of it again.
Oh, classic CLG. But no, this level 1 was just super smart. The best thing is, since the bot lane's leashing, the enemy bot lane wants to push in to get pressure.
Yeah. Like it's one of those things where it's like we're gonna punish them and then we're gonna scrap them a little bit level 1 because we have the push lead, and then like as you're scrapping, a level 3 jungler comes out and you're like, what the fuck? And they just blow Ignite and like it's just way too strong.
Even with that being said, Darlight does die in some random areas. They trade sides of pressure. Darlight just like dies.
Yeah, he like walked in bot lane, got picked once.
Yeah,
near blue buff.
But then he didn't like tilt or anything. He recovered really well. This is the first game where I was really worried about Hui in this series. Because this is I'm never like Hui's like a super good laner.
Yeah.
And in fact, if you saw the stats in the series, by 15 minutes he was down 30 CS both game 1 and game 2. Game 3 he's up CS. So I'm just like, wow, they're doing great.
Yeah.
And then it's just like, okay, well, can they land the ulti? Turns out
they can.
They got Rek'Sai, and the game was like a little bit close, swings in the CLG's favor, and then just explodes because they're able to do the Darlock delivery service onto the back.
Like 22 minutes in the game, they're sieging up around mid lane a little bit. And one thing I'll say is I don't think Hui is a great Orianna player, but I think CLG is like a great Orianna team.
Oh yeah,
they probably use Orianna better than most teams, but it's not like, oh my god, how did Hui find that angle? It's like they put a ball on somebody, they said go, and they perfectly played it. And they're, to be fair, they're against Syndra Varus, not too much of a mobility there, so pretty easy to find them if they clump up, and then not too much of a front line with at least Thresh and R.
Yeah.
So I mean, those two things, 1 + 1 = 2. Dardoch gets a lot of flash double knockups with Oriel.
And Shen does a great job working with Rek'Sai to be able to do all these initiations. COG just played this comp really, really well once they got the lead.
Yeah, so they got one around the mid turret. They get a bunch of kills. They get Baron, and another time, or I think they just push up mid, and then they have one around Baron as well, where it's the same story. Just they're trying to jump on the Shen. They clump up a little bit as they're chasing him. Flash knock up.
And another thing that I liked about CLG's comp was that they had Ashe, which allowed them to get a lot of picks to be able to create their lead in the first place.
Yeah.
And then rotate to doing this Rek'Sai ball carry.
Yeah.
It was just good.
Yep, really clean stuff out of CLG in Game 3. And
why couldn't they do this Game 2?
Because they had Jax, Rakan, Jhin, Vlad.
Yep.
Why didn't they do the Ori Rek'Sai combo with Vlad, Rakan? It's the same thing. You instead of having this vacuum ultimate that pulls everyone together to die, you just kind of shoot blood at them and say, "I'll kill you in a couple seconds." It's about the same thing.
I just want to see CLG win a Series 2-0, okay?
I would love that too.
3 games is more practice. That's what Tony says. Dude, I know Tony for a fact. If there was a backstage cam on Tony when his team loses the Game 2, it wouldn't even be close to how mad he gets. He gets, when they do a dumb play, Tony just gets so heated.
Can we get like a cam for like, I mean, they have a production team, right? Get like all of Tony's Game 2 reactions and just make a compilation video and put it out. It would do so well.
It would be so funny, dude. I'm just saying, like, you guys saw Loco do like the roid rage, like keyboard slam. That's like Tony when his team does something stupid. Yeah, when his team does something stupid, that's him.
And I really would have appreciated Tony because you fucking made us watch Echo Fox TL as the last series of the day because you couldn't win in 2 games like TSM could.
Jesus,
the better team.
Let's not talk. Oh, you know what? Let's go into the next series. That was actually still pretty good.
Yeah, dig FlyQuest, baby.
So we have obviously been rating FlyQuest pretty low because let's be real, they suck.
Why'd you write Liquid?
Oh, did I write something wrong?
No, I mean it's not.
Oh, I just fully wrote Liquid.
Yeah,
I think I wrote that in my notes, and that was a problem. But yeah, so dig FlyQuest. This was a surprise upset from FlyQuest. in that they won.
Yeah, anytime they win not over P1 or TL, which is more of a 50-50, it's a surprise.
And to be fair, like I've been a Dig fan for a while. I've known the org for a while, so I'm no stranger to an org that starts really well early and then flops as it gets near the playoff stage.
You're a bit of an expert on it, actually.
I'm just actually a monster at doing that.
So let's get into game 1, because I felt like games 2 and games 3 were very weird, and I want to talk about them separately.
You mean there's 2 games?
There's 3 games.
Is there 3 games?
Yeah, this is a 3-game series. What are you smoking?
Oh, I just didn't record it because I was on the way here. Okay, yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
okay,
sorry.
okay.
Yeah, this is a 3-game series. Sorry, keep going.
All right. So does that mean game 3 you don't have much of?
Right, and the same similar for the other one. I didn't write. You didn't write anything for that game either. Let's be real.
I mean, that was just because that game sucked dick. So game 1 of Dig versus FlyQuest. Dignitas win this one. LeBlanc, or they lose this one. Excuse me. They have LeBlanc, Lee, Morgana, Jin, Jax versus FlyQuest with Elise, Braum, Ori, Camille. And then what was the AD carry?
Trist.
That's
Let me before you even get anywhere. This is my time. Why do you blind Camille ever? In what way, shape, or form is blinding Camille a good thing? It's there to specifically counter Rumble and very specific tanks. For instance, Jarvan. And I think it's good into one other pick that I just completely whatever.
It's okay, and we're talking about balls, FlyQuest. Camille, like, why would they play this?
Right, and into a top laner that's known to not shy away from the carry versus carry matchup. And so what happens? Somebody picks Jax. And the most surprising thing in this game, Balls plays good.
He does all right.
Balls holds his own against Someday, does pretty well. I was impressed, honestly.
Yeah, but on the meantime, Dig with their 1-3-1 comp, okay, so the Jax isn't popping off, the LeBlanc is. Keen has 5 of 5 kill participation early on. I think he's like 3-0-2. He's playing super good. It looks like they should win this.
And they don't do anything.
And then they just don't do anything. And then they start grouping up mid a little bit too much. And like FlyQuest, they're in the 1-3. They're in the 4-1 versus a 1-3-1. So of course they try and force down around mid. And like all you have to do is like kind of pull back, wait for your side lanes to collapse and kill them. But they just kept dying. Like in mid lane, they died in 2 separate fights, 3-0 and like 4-1 or something.
And I felt really bad for Someday in this situation. One, because I think he did really poor judgment in one of the TPs where they were doing Baron. He didn't have to TP in because it just pushed all the way down the lane.
Oh, yeah.
But 2, in the fact that his team did a really poor job of setting him up to split push. And that's why, like, I don't know if he should be playing Jax, because if your team doesn't know how to split, you run into games like this where you as a split pusher have the lead, but you can't do anything with it.
Well, that's what's crazy for Dignitas is like 1-3-1 makes sense. Keen's a playmaker a little bit. He should be good at that. Someday's a beast.
He plays Fiora so much. They must know how to 4-1.
Or 1-3-1 because it's LeBlanc
right.
this time around. But like they can't do it. And the team comps that they have the most success on are actually just straight team fight team comps. That's when Dig always seems to win.
Yeah, where Someday's playing the tank and he just frontlines like a monster.
Or Rumble. Like you put him on a team fighter, he hits a big ultimate that wins your team the game. Because for the most part, it feels like Dignitas can't play around side lanes properly, so they're much better when they're forced to group up.
And it does look like no one really can frontline/initiate if their name isn't Someday or Special. Or not Special.
Big?
Someday or Big, right.
Yeah. So this game basically breaks down into Dignitas can't team fight versus FlyQuest comp, and they are not good enough to 1-3-1 correctly, so they just kind of lose a bunch of fights around mid lane, and FlyQuest takes the game.
Yep, this game, and then randomly Trist just picks up a bunch of kills by initiating.
Yeah, I mean, Trist Ori against this team is just like...
Yeah, no, Turtle actually just jumps in half this game and then just picks up kills jumping in. And it actually turned out to be a great decision almost every time, which should show, like, they had, like, a complete lack of how to just play out.
I mean, to be fair to Turtle, while he is kind of fucking crazy...
No, those
are good. He's good at doing crazy shit. Like,
yeah,
if you need someone to go in and start a fight as an AD carry, he's probably the best one at it.
And this was a really good opportunity for him to do that, because in a lot of positions, like, they would half-ass their siege, and he would just be able to jump in and get free poke, or actually just like crit people down and get kills.
The problem is that the amount of times that's the right thing to do as an AD carry is pretty limited. So like Turtle's best skill set is one where it's like you're gonna want to use that 1 in 15 games maybe.
Yeah, but this was the one game.
That was this game, which brings us into game 2. Dignitas answer back. Let's go. Lee, Trist, Morg, Talia, Rumble. Super standard team fight comp for the most part. With Talia, who's able to get to map pressure early on. Elise, Braum, Ori, Renekton, Kog'Maw. So FlyQuest also playing standard team fight team comp.
And then what happens is Dignitas gets out to a good lead. Like,
yeah, they don't tunnel around playing around Someday. And they counter gank top as opposed to overforce.
They get a lead there, and then they start with a good lead. What happened in the second half of the game? Because I only wrote down they start with a good lead. I don't know exactly what happened at the latter portions of this game, and I do remember Game 3.
It was really, really slow. So they hop out to a quick 2-0 lead. They get a couple more kills, and it ends up being so it goes from 2-0 to 3-5. But Dignitas is getting all the objectives. They're the one getting the turrets. They're the ones getting the dragons, and then they chunk out the Elise one time, and they force a Baron, and they get it for free. And then that was around 20-something minutes, 22 I think, 23. And then 30 minutes in, with the scoreline still being 3-5, they get another free Baron. So they basically just kept forcing Barons, and FlyQuest could never take a fight. And eventually they just kind of roll over and die.
The Dig Baron thing is becoming like the absolute strength of their team.
Yeah, it honestly is their best chance of victory is like have a decent early game, play from ahead, and force a Baron.
That's weird that they're like probably top 3 in Baron control of any of the teams in the A, but they're doing it consistently to create leads and to turn games into or to close out games. They're doing it really well.
And like we said, it's not like great in the sense that like you're getting Barons with 5 members alive multiple times a game on the other team. That's scary, but if it works, it's working. Because it feels like that. Like how many times in high level international play is it like, oh man, they got a Baron with the entire other team alive? Pretty much 0.
A lot of times against CSM.
I said high level international competition.
Okay, well maybe like yeah, once every 10 games.
Yeah, for the most part though, it's all about baiting. Then you get a pick, and then you do it. So, anyways, that leads us to Game 3, which you don't have any notes on, right?
No, but I remember this game completely because this game was strictly Moon and High go off.
So, before we get into the game too far, what do you feel about Wild Turtle getting Player of the Game?
What? He got Player of the Game this game?
He did get Player of the Game this game.
Well, I would have been comfortable giving it to either one of the 2 players mid or jungle. This game was entirely mid jungle centric. This is literally FlyQuest style last split executed today or in that one game.
I don't know how it happened.
I mean, do you disagree with me?
No, I agree. When they asked us who was Player of the Game, and we were like, I think Moon or High. I think I said High because of the split pushing stuff that we'll get into in a second here. But then we heard it was Turtle, and one of the arguments was like, oh, he made his leads on his own, and it's like, but the only reason they were ahead this game at all was because of High and Moon.
They won this game because their mid and jungle played really well together, and
they can only play from ahead.
Yeah, and then once they got the lead, they actually played the map really well. They didn't do stuff that was too crazy. Made great calls to close out the game.
All right, so what happened to get this lead between jungle mid? Moon does a 3-camp gank level 3 mid. That's all he does. He does admittedly creative ones. This time Rek'Sai starting blue buff, and just goes for the level 3. I think he did the XP Quint one where he went like blue Gromp or blue Wolves Scuttle Crab gank. Which is pretty surprising because most of the time you never do that on blue side, especially not as a Rek'Sai who doesn't need blue buff. But he does it, and it works. And at some point, people are just going to play safe mid for the first 5 minutes of the game.
No, that's not going to happen.
Okay, I wish that would happen. Just like play super safe mid, because against FlyQuest specifically.
If Moon doesn't go off in the first 5 minutes, you win the game.
Right, and this time they get the first blood. They gank it again. It's a 1-for-1. Moon gets another kill. And then they gank it again. Moon gets the other one. And now he's 3-0. High is like 0-1-3, but ahead of the Syndra. And like Syndra is complete. She is fucking nothing this game. Keen has a horrible game. He's 0-kill Syndra. 0-6 and something. Like you. He has a huff. He keeps ulting people, and then there's admittedly he's against the Tom Kench, which is annoying, but he keeps ulting people, and Tom Kench just eats them.
Yes, there's not
no
much
patience. No patience.
There's not much you can do. But I mean, in this game, what Syndra does against Kench is like he just the game gets slowed down to where Syndra and his team slowly chuck out the Kench, and then he just like saves his stun and looks on every stun.
Yeah.
To be able to get chunk before the ulti. But yeah, there wasn't much patience at all.
Yeah. Anyways, so FlyQuest are kind of snowballing through the mid lane. They have a lead for most of this game, but Dignitas is kind of hanging in there for the most part.
I thought the best thing in this game was the call top lane when High was still pushing. That was fantastic. Like, it ends up that they're like contesting Baron. They're doing this typical Baron dance where everyone's just around Baron, and then you realize, wait, where's High? And High's still pushing top lane, and he just like calls his team down, and they just rush down the inhib.
Yeah, it's really cool because like Camille is on the bot side because he's like, that's where I should be. I'm someday split pushing late into the game. I should be bottom. Has to recall and go top. And then as he's recalling to go top to catch the wave, FlyQuest TP onto Dignitas in the mid lane. So now Sunday's like, fuck, I can't catch the wave top. I need to match this TP. So he matches the TP, and now that forces all of Dignitas to just be standing around mid lane. And then FlyQuest just go back up to the top inhib. It was like so smart how they moved them around the map.
It was something where you're like, wow, that's good shot calling. Like that was well played.
Yeah.
Good macros. So, macro that like I had hoped to see from FlyQuest because that's like their legacy to be honest.
Like creative. No one else in the league would make that call for the most part. Like it was super, super impressive how like when you thought about it, it's like, oh, they just pulled him top. And then when he wanted to go top, they pulled him back mid. And then now that he's back mid, they go top again. And then you know, Dignitas gets frustrated. They try and collapse from 2 angles, which their comp isn't really great at.
It was like almost 3 angles.
Yeah, they were so like, it just felt like they were so mad. And they were like, hey, stop running around.
They got ran circles around. And then they got a free inhib for, like, just a straight free inhib, all 5 players up.
Yeah, and then they kill 3 because Dig gets so angry in how they're trying to chase them. Anyways, I think they back out and get a Baron after that. It does stall out really hard because Dignitas has Tristana.
Which is turning into a significant problem as an AD. Like, I think right now, if games are getting to 3 items, Trist is pretty strong.
And the thing is, other than like maybe the top 4 teams in the league, and even up there a little bit, teams are not super clean about closing out. So like you have a decent chance of hitting those item break points.
Yeah, hitting to like the 3.5, which is the 3 and the last whisper.
Yeah, and that makes you pretty much full god mode. The only person who's late game right now really matches is probably Kate. And Kate's banned pretty often. Kate's
literally first ban purple side or red side like almost every game.
Yeah, so we'll have to see how high Trist priority goes, but right now it seems crazy.
Yeah, and the FlyQuest almost throw this game. They get into like a couple like really, really like bad fights, but for the most part, they don't actually throw, and then the game gets really easy.
There's one fight where I was like, God damn it, Alltech, where it was at the Baron. And Moon and High, like Alltech jumps forward onto High, starts hitting him up. Obviously, he'd lose the 1v1 normally, but he has Braum shielding him, so he just needs to keep autoing High, and then he ults him away, hoping that the E-bomb finishes him off when he's at like full health. And he could have just autoed him down and killed him and saved his ult. And as a result, High lives. They eventually get Moon, but like High life steals. And it was a fight where if they kill Moon there or High, they get Moon, and then he just resets through the fight because there's no longer Aleutian alive. And he just didn't. There were like a couple of fights where if Alltech was like a little bit better, they probably win that game.
But that's honestly a lot to demand from.
Really, that's not his role on the team. Like I'm not saying like, oh my god, Alltech, how'd that happen? It was tough.
He's not supposed to 1v5 when his he shouldn't assume that his mid laner literally is like a rock.
He's a useless Syndra, which is like so hard to say.
Yeah, when you the same day watch Bjerg play Syndra and then you watch Keen.
Yeah, and like some people are saying, I would still take Alltech over Laud, I think, because I think Laud has the worst stats around the board universally. It's just he still should have won that game. It's like, yeah, you're better than Laud, but you also should have won that game for your team.
Or you could have won. There was a possibility.
There was that one fight at Baron was just like, just don't ult him away. Just auto him till he's dead. Anyways, this ends up being a FlyQuest win because they don't choke it away. Turtle does admittedly have some good late game team fights. Like he flashed in to finish off Syndra a couple times.
And I think actually Balls played the series pretty well. Like he matched up against one of the best top lanes in the league in a lot of different matchups, even in carry versus carry matchups well. Like, he held his own. I was really impressed with his performance this series.
And his Rumble was pretty good the last game.
Yeah, like overall, really surprised. They had actually creative and good shot calling that wasn't super risky. Was just a good call. And
game 3 is like premium FlyQuest. Like this is what you want to see every time. And maybe you're like, all right, like with them being a 500 team with this kind of play style.
Right.
That's what you'd hope for. Which brings us now into our last series of the day, which we are going to breeze through before getting questions and answers.
Yeah, I mean, what did I even write down about this? Oh, I wrote
The first 2 games are like, okay.
I wrote Froggen.
You can begin sending us, tweet at Scarra, tweet at me, at Scarra, at the MarkZ.
At Greatest League.
At Greatest League T. And then we'll get into those in a second because we'll fly through this series. Game 1. Corky. Frogging.
That's literally all I need to say. This game was so slow up until the point where Corky just valks over to golem wall. Two hits the Rek'Sai. Then
as he's killing the Rek'Sai, Lorlo starts channeling his teleport.
Yeah, and then the best thing is, as they're trying to chase Froggen down, Froggen's in the tri-bush, he triple crits. Someone who walks in, kills them too, and they get a Baron and the game's over. I'm just like, I watched this series, I'm like, this is what it takes to win. They just put them on Corky every game?
Yeah, pretty much. So that's game 1 in the books. So what happens game 2? TL swaps around. Game 1, they had Kongquan Slushi. Game 2, they have Matt Golden Glue. Galio gets through somehow.
Golden Glue
gets Galio.
Really good character and even though he lost lane by if you look at the CS difference, it was 40.
It's Froggin.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't matter because it's Galio.
He ran top in a skirmish that Echo Fox overfought despite starting it decently well. He gets a triple kill and then he just builds fucking full tank he had his Dark Seal before this skirmish, so he has 6 stacks. Comes back to lane. And then there's just no way for them to kill a Galio. Jhin, Rek'Sai, Corky, Braum, Shen. Corky maybe, but Jhin, Rek'Sai, Shen is useless for killing a fat Galio. And it takes them a little while to find the fight that wins them the game, but eventually they find it.
Yeah, and at no point during the time it takes them, the other team, to find it, do you think, oh wow, Corky's going to do damage here.
Yeah.
When Corky's hitting Galio, I'm just like, is there damage? Did the shield fall?
Yeah, you just...
it's...
The full vault boy.
Yeah, it's actually, no. The entire time you're just like, okay, they found a good pick that works for them and they got a lead and there's no way the other team can do anything about it.
Yeah, eventually I think Kalista just throws Thresh at somebody to start a fight and they win the game.
They could have I just thought they ran it down top lane and then they won. That's essentially what I
thought. Anyways, that leads us to game 3, which is the game that I did not take notes on. I just said so fucking slow.
Oh, that leads us to game 2.
No, dude, are you high?
Wait,
we just did game 2.
Oh yeah, you're right. Okay, yeah, that leads us to game 3. Sorry, this series was
Scarra had an aneurysm.
Very long. I watched this series, and I did not enjoy watching this series, to say the least.
You should not watch this series. If you guys have not watched this series, do not watch this series.
Well, we learned this series that Caitlyn pulls out different hats from her portal.
That was the most interesting thing to happen this series. Basically, Echo Fox get a lead because they're a decent early game team, and Team Liquid is not. And then they have Caitlyn Corky. And all right, well, let me ask you this, because I saw someone tweeting about this. They said they didn't think that TL had good engage options. But they had Kalista, Thresh, Elise, Victor, Gnar.
Oh, I thought they had decent engage options, but the engage options are sometimes hard looks. A lot of their engage options have to happen with Lorlo there, and Lorlo has to be willing to take the initial initiation.
She has to be either teleporting in with Mega Gnar, or they have to start it out at full health. You can't be poked out by the Corky cake.
Yeah, and I think it's possible, but this is really a thing where Lorlo has to command his team to work with him because he has to get the fight started around him.
Because I feel like you have enough tools. I admit it's hard, but you need to pull the trigger.
No, yeah, it's hard, but you're never going to be given a situation where you always have everything.
Yeah, because when you have that, those games you just win.
Yeah,
that's like the Olaf, Galio,
Lulu,
Caitlyn
or whatever.
Yeah, and the other team has Varus, Ori, 2 immobile pieces of shit, and you just run at them and kill them. Most games are not like that. And Caitlyn Corky is very annoying, mobile and shit, but you gotta go. You gotta try and go for the chain CC or something. Anyways, it doesn't happen. They just get ground out slowly. It takes forever.
It takes a long time. I'm literally watching this series, and I'm just where is this going? How is this not over yet? But eventually, Corky Caitlyn is just unbeatable. At some point, the Gnar can't even step up without getting chunked. Actually, the Corky Caitlyn, I think both had rapid fire with just 2-hit the Gnar. Well, not 2-hit, but 2-hit, like 10 hit.
Chunk him out, yeah.
And then actually, I think Corki at some point did 3-hit the other mid laner at the end of the game.
He killed Elise in 3 hits. He valked on him, auto Q or Q autoed, I guess, or whatever. He goes up and repel. He comes down, autos him again. And he's dead.
It was
maybe throw a rocket in there.
Yeah, it was just like a situation where you're like, okay, I get it. I actually think Corki coming into meta is super good for frogging. Like, actually really good for Echo Fox in general.
Yeah.
But it only shores up and hides some of the weaknesses that Echo Fox have. They're still not a great team. They still struggle in exactly what you expect. Closing out games, really understanding how to control Barons. And outside their early game, they have not much remarkable of the team.
It was against Team Liquid.
Yeah.
It doesn't really mean, like, if you smash them, okay, good. But if you take this long, slow, grindy style with double scaling 80 carries...
The best you can say is at least we won.
Yeah, at least you played your comp correctly. But it's not impressive. Anyways, that does today. Thank God we're done with that series.
I was actually so hyped for the other three.
That's what I was complaining about at the start of the show. Is like, you have 3 other good series, and it feels like every single time.
Yeah, the last.
Because you know Echo Fox is going to win this series, and then they do this stupid skirmish against Galio on the top side. They lose 3, and then you know the next hour and a half of your life is going to suck. Mm-hmm. And that's what happened, and it just takes out all the momentum of the day. And it's happened, I feel like, so many times in a row.
It's happened at least half of our episodes.
If at least. Like, I would need to go back and check, but I feel like I come home so many times, I'm like, dude, do we have to talk about that series? Yeah. I feel like that's the number one thing I say when I walk in the door.
Usually it's just like we have to talk about it a little bit.
Yeah. I'm trying to skip them all the time.
All right. Anyways, we're done for the day. Tomorrow, we're going to be back yet again for the 4 best of series tomorrow, as well as our weekly power rankings. We typically end Saturday show with a Q&A. So, again, just tweet at Mark, me, and at Greatest League T your questions, and Mark will be on his phone looking for the questions. Is it just you? Should I look as well?
You should look too, because I don't think I have that many.
Okay, I'll look as well.
What are our plans for GLT during Worlds?
No idea.
We don't know yet.
Yep, I already said that during the pre-show, but we will sort it out when we can.
When I know what I'm doing for Worlds, when Scarra knows what he's doing for Worlds.
Because potentially I could be busy for Worlds as well.
Give us your tier list of teams at Rift Rivals. So this is an NA show, so we're about to do a 3-team tier list.
I think it is TSM, C9, P1.
Wow, that's revolutionary. Unbelievable. How'd you come up with that list? You need to justify, because I'm sure that'll be very controversial, and you must have some kind of crazy reason.
All right. How about this? Instead of saying that, this is the question that I asked Loco the other day, or I talked about Loco the other day. How many games will P1 win at Rift Rivals? I say at least 2. In the double round robin format. 6 games. At least 2. 2 or more.
So G2, Fnatic, and who's the other one?
Is it Splice?
No, what the fuck?
No.
Splice sucks.
Okay, oh god. UL? It's UL,
I don't know. UOL? Alright, so I don't watch any Europe, but I heard G2's struggling. They're like 3-3 or something. UOL I know nothing about, and Fnatic's doing good, right?
Yep.
So I don't think they beat anybody.
Okay, 1 to 2 games. They win.
Alright, here's what I'll say. In best of 3s versus CLG and C9, they took some games. I think every series they've played since they got to Expressional Mike Young has been 3-game series. So I actually agree with your statement.
2.
I can see them taking two games. I don't think that means they win a series.
Oh no, but there's no series. It's just double round robin, best of 1s.
Yeah,
first round.
I can see that just because. No, I'll give them 1. God, I don't know. Let's go with 1.
Okay. You'll go 1. I say 2. I'm optimistic. I like North America.
I like North America too. I just don't think they're good at League of Legends necessarily.
Maybe just that team.
Yeah. Why haven't more people learned Aurelion Sol?
So the champion itself is let's just say he has a 40-game learning curve, 40, 50-game learning curve, because he's really hard to play, and your team has to play with Sol as well. On top of that, if you spend 40, 50 times playing the champion, you have to be good enough to use it like in a lot of situations. He's hard to use in a lot of situations, you know? On top of that, if they just ban it, you just wasted a lot of time. So this is a champion where you need to have played a lot of in your off time to bring it out on stage with the idea that after one game and you get it banned, you can play other stuff. And Hui has played it a ton, and they don't default to this even if it's up all the time.
Yeah.
So it's like an option. It's a tool in their toolkit that they don't have to use.
And they didn't need to make it or develop it. It was just there.
Yes.
It was like, wow, Hui's the god of Aurelion Sol, and Aurelion Sol's in meta, and then Aurelion Sol left meta, and they're like, we still have this hammer,
Yeah,
though.
yeah. It's like, for instance, Froggen and Anivia.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just see him play Anivia, you're just like, dude, there's no way. How do you, people are like, why don't other teams play Anivia? Like, yeah, it's because no one else played 4,000 games of Anivia.
Yeah, it's like I was playing Zed last split when no one else was playing Zed, and it was like, well, that's just high, dude. Let him do it.
I played like 500 games of Zed Plus because he's just good at the character.
Yep. Ooh, hear that? That was nice.
Wait, what did Tony say?
I don't know. He's probably just like, I'm the best because he just sucks himself off.
Yeah, I know, dude. He probably just like plop coaches for game 2 and I coach games 1.
I don't think Hui has even played 100 games of Aurelion Sol.
That just shows how much he knows about his players' solo key stats. That's actually embarrassing, Tony.
Why don't we cover the shitty series first and save the best for last? Because then all you guys are going to leave.
But it's more like, I just like being chronological.
Well, I like being chronological. I like being able to skip a bad series at the end versus the beginning.
Yes.
Like, if that's how we broke down TLTS Echo Fox, I don't want to do that at the beginning. People think we don't give a shit, which, I mean, we don't, but
Dude,
they won't know that till the end then.
Or unless you say at the very beginning.
Yeah, right?
This is my Twitter, by the way. It's all broken. I actually restarted the... Oh, no, we're good.
It just went, dude.
Thank
You're
God.
going to fucking lie to me some more?
No, dude, what the heck?
Do you think Reignover's going to leave TL after this split?
Even if he does, he's...
I'm pretty sure he's on a 2-year fat contract.
Yeah, he's on...
So if he can make it through a year of this, he might be able to make it through another one. That's my take.
Yeah, I mean, I think...
It depends how hungry he is, though, because TL's, like, they're going to come at him with a pitch. They're going to be like, listen, dude, I know this was not what we all wanted when we sat down together, but we have great backing, great support, a great brand that's great for you.
Next split, we're going to have better players.
We're going after Faker.
We're gonna have.
We might get Faker.
We're gonna have a world champion. It's a teammate of Faker. You may have heard of him, Piglet.
Yeah, he's one. He was one of the best 80 carries in the world. No, it's not Bang.
Are you kind of see them, Steve saying that? It's actually so funny. All right, let's stop.
All right.
Boy. All right, let's keep going.
Did people keep talking about Keith crying? Did Keith cry? I didn't see Keith cry.
I didn't see Keith cry either.
I heard it was like kind of awkward where Irene was like, what do you think about people like criticizing?
Thinking you suck.
Yeah, and he was like, I don't care what people think. And then he asked him like 3 more questions about it, which was kind of weird.
Oh, maybe it's weird, dude.
But I didn't see him cry.
Yeah.
Someone link that if that actually happened, because I didn't see it. Actually, I don't really care.
Yeah, someone asked, give us your AD rankings. Okay, so I said this in the pre-show. What do you think about having power rankings on the whatchamacallit, post-game, in between games? What do you think? Power ranking of players.
Wait, what? You mean the ones that Riot's doing?
Yes.
Oh, I think they're fun.
I think they're fun. I think they're so smart.
Yeah.
Dude, look at how mad people get about. Even the players meme them.
Yeah, even the players are like, dude, what the fuck? I'm not a B tier.
Yeah, with double left riff rivals, B tier bot lane right here.
Yeah, Stixay tweeted the same shit. Everyone tweets that.
And people just get so heated. My AD carry, Stixay, he's at least A tier. I can't believe you put him down at B, which I think he is right now. It's like, dude, who cares? If you're not this tier, just play well next time. That's all I always say.
They're not there to be like, this is the end of season awards. You didn't make first team. You suck dick. It's just fun in the middle of the season because that's like when things are most volatile.
Yeah.
Like, how many times are you gonna put Apollo number 2?
I thought he was playing like number 1 for some situations.
Well, he was number 1. Now he's number 2. I think he's actually dropped off a lot in the last like 3 weeks. Or 2 weeks.
I'd still say he's playing like elite.
He's still like top 4, but whatever. I think that's gonna do it though. You have anything else you want to talk about?
Not really. I mean, thank you guys for watching today. Again, we'll be back tomorrow. If you missed the show, you want to watch the VOD, it'll be on youtube.com/Greatest League TS.
And we will be back tomorrow. I'll be back faster because there is no meeting at the end of the day.
And I might have a co-host with me, might not. We'll see. Because Anime Expo is happening, it means that even my ability to get co-hosts might be a little bit down.
Yeah.
Anyways.
But either way, we'll be back and we'll have our power rankings.
Exactly. All right, where we will not place them by tiers. We'll place them by numbers.
Yeah, we ain't scared of numbers.
Exactly.
I like numbers.
Bye, guys.
Where's my mouse? Where's my mouse?
I like how Tony's here every week. Cut the mic so I can trash talk him. No, just cut the mic.
All right, the mic's cut.
All right, he's just terrible coach. Can't believe he coaches CLG.
He's such a coach for the cameras. Just shows up trying to get some praise.
When the real brain is Plop, all along, I can't believe how much praise he gets from other people.
I mean, I think it's smart of Plop though. Just shows how smart he is. He's like trot this idiot out there every week to like take all the blame and heat and stuff when things go bad, and then they just he gets to sit back the whole time and just figure out what he needs to work on next.
Honestly, just so smart. You cut it, right?
Yeah. I mean, the greatest trick the devil ever pulled was convincing the world he didn't exist. It's like Plop, but he made a fake devil and put him out there in Tony.
Only for game 2s?
Yeah.